DeSantis end 2024 presidential campaign and endorse Trump. CNN. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who entered the Republican presidential primary as Donald Trump's the greatest threat, announced Sunday that he's ending his White House bid and endorsing the former president. His announcement, made in the video posted on X, comes after the disappointing second-place finish in last week's Iowa Republican caucuses. If there was anything I can do to produce the favorable outcome, more campaign stops, more interviews, I would do it. But I cannot ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if they don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I'm today suspending my campaign, DeSantis said. He then touted his support for Trump. While I've had disagreement with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci, Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we cannot go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear or repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents, he said. His departure leaves the former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley as the lone Trump alternative in the race, but without much time to consolidate support and catch up to the frontrunner. DeSantis' decision came after the days of a conversation with the donors. It became clear over the weekend that there was neither the relational nor the financial support to continue his candidacy. DeSantis and his wife Casey made the decision Sunday afternoon, surprising many of his rank and file staffers and supporters. DeSantis called it top donors personally and told them that he had waken up that morning and decided there was no path to winning and that it was time to get up. Two Republican donors with knowledge of the cause told CNN. DeSantis told the donors that there was no reason to waste his time and money staying in the race. DeSantis said there was no path to victory with Trump in the race, recalling how he kept hearing from attendees at his event that if it wasn't for Trump, I would vote for you. The two sources said DeSantis knows he's young, and if he's to have the chance at winning the GOP presidential nomination in 2028, he needed to endorse Trump. It is a devastating blow to the promising career of the once rising GOP star, and his failure to reach the lofty expectation of his candidacy has already sparked the wave of the second guessing from close allies and advisors. Some believe DeSantis took too long to attack former President Donald Trump. Others think his team underestimated former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. More yet remain convinced that there was nothing DeSantis could have done to whistle the party from Trump's the loyal and sizable followers. DeSantis has run the playbook to the T. Steve Deese, a well-known conservative radio commentator and supporter of the Florida governor, told CNN in the recent weeks, "It's just as simple as when they started indicting Donald Trump. People weren't ready to move on from him. And for DeSantis, it wasn't quite his time." For his part, DeSantis has blamed his performance on the host of challenges, including Iowa weather, conservative media's loyalty to Trump, and the unprecedented barrage of negative ads against him. One thing he hasn't faulted was his main pitch to voters, his record of accomplishment in Florida, which he continues to feature in speech after speech until his final moment as the presidential candidate. Last week's outcome in Iowa proved an especially devastating blow. DeSantis had once vowed to win the state, then predicted he would perform well, claiming his ground game would reveal itself as the secret weapon. He instead finished nearly 30 points behind Trump and barely edged out Haley for second place, sapping his credibility along with its enthusiasm for him. DeSantis vowed to fight on, but after Iowa, it was increasingly clear to many around him that his campaign had run its course. Trump can now take credit for upending the political futures of three of the most prominent and promising Republican politicians in his adopted home state. DeSantis' former governor, Jeb Bush, and Senator Marco Rubio, a latter two of whom he bested in the 2016 Republican presidential primary. It is unclear what is next for DeSantis, who at age 45 has 3 years remaining in his second term as governor before his term limited. In recent weeks, DeSantis has planted the seed for the potential 2028 bid, claiming that some Trump supporters have already increased it. They're, they they were coming up to me saying, "We won you in 2028. We love you, man," the governor recently told the reporters. DeSantis had an inauspicious start on the path to White House contender. It wasn't until his third term in the U.S. House in 2017 that he began to make a name for himself as the loyal defender of Trump on Fox News. On the website then known as Twitter, Trump called DeSantis a true fighter. With Trump's backing, DeSantis won the Florida governorship in 2018. DeSantis then spent the next 4 years charting a path distinct from his one-time ally. He found his lane as the unabashed and willing culture warrior who broke from the medical community during the coronavirus pandemic and dove into national controversies over immigration, education, and LGBTQ issues, earning phony media coverage from right-wing outlets along the way. By the time of his 19-point re-election victory in 2022, when the GOP red wave fizzled elsewhere and many Trump-backed candidates flamed out, a presidential campaign was all but certain. Republicans looking to move on from Trump saw a resume straight out of central casting. Blue-collar roots, little league star, a college athletics at Yale, Harvard law degree, Navy veteran, and photogenic young family. Beyond that, DeSantis at that point had never lost a race. The future, declared the New York Post, the tabloid published by conservative media mogul Rupert Murdoch, a morning after the midterm election, with DeSantis and his wife Casey, a top confidant, splashed across the cover. But DeSantis slow walked his entrance into the race, there was first a book to sell and the restorative session to oversee, and once in, he struggled to match those lofty expectations. More critically, DeSantis failed to convince other Republican presidential hopefuls that he and Trump stood alone atop the GOP and spent the 2023 summer running against the crowded field instead of the former president. The campaign trail proved a challenging environment for DeSantis, who had grown accustomed to holding court and chastising media from behind the lectern. His political foes gleefully elevated his stiff and awkward interactions with voters. In 8 months as the candidate, he struggled to articulate a coherent rationale for his candidacy and focused more upon his past accomplishment as the governor than his ideas for the future. His campaign was also beset cost overruns and shake-ups that dogged him throughout the summer. The small group of loyal but inexperienced advisors in the Tallahassee regularly clashed with the veteran GOP operative who commanded his super PAC led by strategist Jeb Rowe. By the time Iowa's caucus, the super PAC never backed down, was on its fourth CEO, had undergone an exodus of staff and advisors and was no longer running at. Still, DeSantis remained visible. Still, DeSantis remained a viable candidate until the voting started, testament to the relentless appetite for campaign stops and media appearances. In Iowa, for example, he visited all 99 counties and had earned the support of the state's popular Republican governor, Kim Reynolds. But it was clear in the days after the Iowa caucuses, when he appeared tired and sounded dejected, that the grind of the campaign had taken its toll. DeSantis remained, though, that he had no regrets about running. If I had been sitting on the sideline and the Republicans end up losing in 2024, people then would have said, "Oh, well, you have the opportunity to do something and you didn't," he said in a recent interview. So anyone can sit there and carp on the sidelines, get in the arena and fight for what you believe in. This story has been updated with additional reporting. CNN's Kathy Collins and Jeff Ginery contributed to this report.